All on you, sir.
We're on. Adam, also, I noticed the chat's disabled too by the looks of it. So I don't know if there's a setting you can change for that so that people can contribute to the chat. But looks like it might be disabled. So if you have a bit of a play and figure that one out, that'd be great. Options for today. What constitutes a commencement date for a student? Oh, there's a technical compliance question. Second one, how can we allocate specific checkpoints within the Canvas to assist with reporting for bodies such as ASQA and State Government? Okay, interesting question. Number 3, onboarding Canvas tips, words of wisdom from people who've walked the path before us starting a new journey. Okay, right, we'll put on our Yoda for that one and try and share some wisdom. But looks like the compliance manager has taken over today's agenda, which is great. And so let's start with number 1. What constitutes a commencement date for a student? Now, this is... I'm no good with this one. We're going to need some help. Who has an answer?
Or who would like to dive in first? There's a lot of people not getting involved.
By the way, please switch your videos on as well, please, so we can see you going, I don't know. So switch your videos on. Come on, act like friendly people. Sorry, go for it.
I was the one who put the question in because within Queensland's funding, we actually have to record a date that is called is their commencement date or commencement of training. What we have done to kind of mitigate it is to actually put a commencement note within a slide in our learning materials and then actually connect it to a mark is done. The biggest thing is that the mark is done doesn't physically record anything within the student's run sheet or access sheet. So what we've then sort of started to do is if we get audited, we'll actually go in and pull down the student's log sheet and whack it into their file and actually use that to back up. So we can say, well, look, the student has said, yep, I'm commencing the training by marking as done, and then here is the log sheet that matches that.
Okay, that's one way of handling it.
It's very obvious. I'm sure there's an easy way.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of workarounds of options here. What are others doing?
No one does it.
We don't keep our commencement date in Canvas. It's housed in our CMS when the user signs the contract. So learner signs the contract with us and starts their apprenticeships. That's their commencement date, and that's where that's housed. So if we, as part of our moderation, if we get polled, we combine data from both systems because it's kind of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this question, Megan, too, is the definition of a commencement date might be different depending upon funding arrangements, maybe. Yeah. And I suspect with what you're doing, you need to actually show that they've actually done something as opposed to just sign up. Is that right?
Well, that's it. So for every single unit, we have to actually have a commencement date. So, and by commencement date, that defines that as the day that the student commenced training in that unit. So we actually have to physically show. So with our guys that are kind of doing a blended delivery, it's quite easy because we just do an attendance sheet, which they all sign, you know, and everyone's happy. But for the guys, as we start to move forward, and these guys might not necessarily have a blended, or they might do a Zoom session, so they don't really have a physical attendance sheet per se. We have to then prove that that student has commenced at that particular date. So when we go in and report our funding, we say, yep, the student started on the 24th of the 9th. Desbit come in and they go, well, how do you know they started then? Like, where's your proof to say that the student actually started on that date?
Okay. I just discovered recently one of our organisations we work with gave us the heads up, and we discovered that Zoom actually keeps attendances for meetings.
Does it?
So, yes. So if you use Zoom meetings, there is a way to actually pull off an attendance register for Zoom meetings. Now, it's not obvious at all, but we were amazed when we were showing that. So what I'll do after this meeting is I'll put up the procedure on how to do that.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I'll provide it to Ruth if that works, and Ruth can integrate it into the meetings, the minutes. Are you happy with that, Ruth?
Yep. That's totally fine. Either myself or Adam, that's totally fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Can I say something that may not help Megan? So we're in New South Wales, but our funding sounds very similar, and they're very fixed on commencement dates. We do it through Job Ready. So we use, like Dan, we use our student management system to log all of that. But we have had a couple of students recently that started a unit and then withdrew from the course. So our funding body comes back to us, says, well, where's the evidence that they commenced? Otherwise we have to pay back the commencement payment.
Yeah.
So we've used, I think, the analytics in Canvas to prove that they've logged in, to prove that they've done 4 hours of the course or the module in Canvas. And we did a screenshot and sent that through to our funding body, and they seem to be okay with that. Like, we haven't had to pay the money back. So it's not pretty and it's still disjointed, but that worked for us. So I don't know whether that's...
Oh, that's good, because we have funding in Queensland, New South Wales, and we've just started in South Australia. So they all have slightly different things, but with debt, it's more about what they want is they want proof that the students actually started, and with that proof, they want that diet, because we use Job Ready as well. We can't just go, well, Jobs Ready says that they started. They go, well, where's the proof that they actually started? So that's where they actually mandate attendance sheets. So if we don't have attendance sheets, they can take money off you. And if they've just started to put more around the online learning space, because they have to now, whereas before they were like, oh, nobody uses that. But now they've actually started to sort of put rules around it. And one of the rules is that your commencement date and the start date in Job Ready, basically, or whatever your student management system, they have to line up. So you could have a student come in and log on for 2 minutes and log off, but because they haven't gotten into that mark as done stage, that's not a commencement per se. That's just them, like, almost like a bleep. Whereas we've kind of put the process where they have to actually go about 5 slides in, mark as done, and then we've got a physical, well, yes, they've actually commenced. Kerry, who sends her regards, she'll be hopefully in the next meeting, had mentioned maybe trying to put a multiple choice or some sort of activity. But the only reason we didn't go down that line, because that actually physically records that they've actually completed a physical thing within Canvas. But we would have to actually contextualize that to every single unit rather than just having a generic thing that we put in. We can just copy and paste. So that was the other avenue that we looked at.
It's interesting you say that, Megan, because we've got some information in the chat regarding potentially using quizzes that's been shared by Adam. So that was obviously an idea that you brought up there as well, Adam, which is great. Also, Ruth and Adam have both suggested that new analytics might be a possibility, which follows on from what we were saying before.
Yeah, which was that kind of new analytics becomes we don't automatically download it into each individual student's file, but it was our backup for when we get audited and they give us the list. We would actually physically go down and check who had actually completed training within Canvas, and we would then pull that new analytics down as evidence.
There's definitely a lot of differences based on funding and that sort of stuff, but those new reports literally just released a week or 2 ago. One of that course activity report does have that first view date and their start date based on their first.
I did see that. We were playing with that with the trainer.
Yeah, so I think that's actually a little bit more specific than anything we've had previously. People like the new analytics tool is really helpful, but I think that we've still had to push customers to use that sort of user access report in a lot of situations to really see what they were looking at and when, whereas I think that's a really good that's a really good place to start for just that very first point of interaction.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's good to know that, like, we're kind of on the right track with, it's just, to me, it's a clunky and bulky process. I understand why it exists, but the proof is just, it's not like you just pull down a checkpoint and say, yep, they've done it. You actually have to physically go in and pull down quite an enormous amount of information and then give it to them for them to look at it for 30 seconds and go, yep. But that's state funding for you.
Miles has asked a question in the chat as well. Miles asked, could we use sections in Canvas? Would that work for you? I suspect you want something a little bit different rather than putting them in the sections. You want to know they've actually been there as opposed to their second dates. Is that the thinking?
Yeah, you need to know they've actually been, like you need to prove that they've actually commenced and they've actually started, and the dates need to line up. And I have a funny feeling that, I mean, DESVERT's fairly old in it, the way that it's dealt with its funding, whereas some of our other funding in other states is quite new. So I can kind of, what we tend to use is DESVERT as a blueprint for where Smart and Skilled and South Australia funding will eventually slowly go. I know Smart and Skilled has changed a lot in the last few years with how many, what their consequences are and how they actually approach their audit, whereas you know, when we did our audit 3 years ago, it was quite touchy-feely, and you know, oh, you can choose improve this and improve that, and now it's become basically, if you don't do this, it's fines, which is what along the same track as Queensland funding. So so we kind of think, you know, if we can kind of match Queensland's funding and do the same for our students in our other states, then we're always going to have our bases covered.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything else besides?
Yeah. Anyone else?
Anyone else do state funding?
Grace has popped one in the chat. She uses a generic quiz for each of our subjects. The students need to complete the start of the subjects. Just 2 simple questions that when answers, the results go straight into the SMS, which then verifies that they've started the unit. And yeah, that's kind of what I keep gravitating to my head as well, Megan. I know that you said you wanted something customized for each unit.
No, we don't. We just wanted a generic set of, like, that's where we've used the markers done rather than 2 simple questions, because we've 30 qualifications on scope, and at the moment we have 6 that are going on to Canvas with the view to eventually get 10 to 12 onto Canvas. So it's more that for within those quals you've got between 13 and 16 units, and for the commencement of every unit you're going to have a tailored quiz section, because it can't just be, unless you have something like a generic photo that just says what the colour is, the sky, or click on the dog. Is that what people do? Or, like, I know that's simplifying it to the nth degree, but that's the only way I can assume that there's a generic without tailoring it to each individual unit of competency.
Grace, do you want to just discuss the type of questions you've got?
Yeah, so ours it's generic, but it does refer back to the subject. So yeah, we just ask the students 2 questions in a quiz. The first is, what are you most looking forward to in the subject? And then the second question is, what are you wanting to improve on during the subject? So they have an understanding sort of what they're going to be going into. So they just answer those 2 simple questions. It's got nothing to really do with that specific unit, like actual learning. And and then once the trainer has then marked those questions, that then feeds back into our student management system, where it ticks off that student has completed
that particular
quiz. Yeah, well, it started that subject.
Yeah. Do you have, what SMS do you use?
We use VetTrack.
Yeah, so we use Job Ready at the moment, and I don't think they have that quite built in, even though they're the same company.
Yeah.
But it's something I can probably talk to the guys at Job Ready about.
Yeah, we find that it works really easy, because then they don't actually have to start any work sort of thing per se to be like commence that. Because that's the first sort of part of the unit or the subject might just be a lot of learning, so they're not actually like doing things in there. So so that's what we do, and we find it works really well.
No, that's okay. That's a good idea too.
Thank you, Grace. I'm not sure with the Job Ready integration whether it's really designed to handle that either, Megan. So have a chat.
I don't have the most amazing regard for Job Ready and its ability to do most things.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm hearing you to an extent. Just want to say hello to everyone who joined us a little bit late. Welcome. Please turn on your videos so we can see your smiling faces. That would be much appreciated. because it's a lot better than just seeing black spaces. So you don't have to go out of space like Dan. Just pop in and turn your video on. That'd be fantastic. Thank you, all of you. Really appreciate it. All right. Is there any more comments about this first agenda item? You were going to say something, Dan. Fill the space while we wait for answers.
I was just saying the space is just there because the background's a mess. I don't want to embarrass you all.
You didn't have to fess it up, Dan. Let's move on to the second agenda item. And thank you, Megan. That was a cracker to get us started. This one has compliance implications as well. The question is, how can we allocate specific checkpoints within Canvas to assist with reporting for bodies such as ASQA and State Government? It's funny because it's a little bit like the first question, but takes it to a whole new level, I think. Megan, did you ask this question as well?
I think, no, but I think Kerry may have. And I work a lot with Kerry, so we're kind of on the same.
All right. Do you want to give us an idea what checkpoints it is here that you're trying to compare against?
I think it's more, it's showing well, I guess you could dual it and say it's the commencement and it's the finalisation of a unit. But within that, you will have, like, for example, with us, we have knowledge-based questions. We generally have an individual assessment or a practical associated with it. And there's generally a third party. So obviously it's a staged approach. So the students may go in and complete the knowledge portion, and they might come out and they might not touch it for a little bit, and then they might come back in. But you kind of need to be able to track where everyone's at. So if a person withdraws, you can say, well, they've completed the knowledge-based question. And I think the way we were kind of looking at going with it was maybe going with the outcomes and actually having a trainer come in and mark an outcome to say that they've completed that portion of that training. And then that then can be used to map back to where their students are actually within each of the course.
Okay, were you hoping for a solution that integrates back to your student management system?
I don't think Job Ready will allow partials to come back. But what it means is that, I guess it's kind of trying to look at a snapshot of where all your students are at within the courses. I think that's what she was chasing. In that sort of regrets, like, yeah, the quiz, everything can plug back in, but the biggest thing is when you're plugging it into, particularly for Job Ready, it has a move over that person starts in Canvas, and then it has, once the person's completed that unit, a move back, and they have to have completed the whole unit in its entirety, rather than actually putting that thing. So it's kind of like they I guess, if I simplify it, they're completing one part of the unit and the assessment attached. And then, you know, how do you benchmark? They're waiting to complete another part, or how are you making available if you're actually making available? So for us at the moment, we have a blended approach where they do their knowledge stuff online, and then they do their individual assessments and their practicals in a face-to-face format, because we're kind of just building the train as it's going along. And I guess from a compliance point of view, what I've seen in the past happen is when you have two forms of assessment that are split apart, quite often you will get people who are marked competent and they have completed one part and not the other.
Okay. In circumstances like that, it can sometimes be useful to create a sequence, and the modular requirements allows us to do that. And I see that Grace has asked about that and Ruth has followed up. Ruth, do you want to just follow up on your comment and just explain where your thinking is with what we're going to see if we follow that link that's in the chat that you've provided?
Yeah, so this is, I guess this is something we hear about a lot, module progress reporting and wanting to be able to do that. And sort of, there are ways to do that with APIs if you have that sort of skill set, but a lot of people don't necessarily have resourcing to do that. But that link that I've popped in there is just a customer developed report, which sort of pulls on some of the APIs. So a lot of the work's sort of been done. There is some setup required and there's instructions on that resource. But once you do get it set up, it does provide a really nice, easy to sort of read report about basically how students have progressed through each of the modules and the module items within those modules to sort of see if each of your modules represents a unit or maybe 2 units or whatever it is, however you cluster or not cluster your content. It can be really helpful to get just an overarching understanding of where everyone's up to at any point in time without having to use that sort of view progress button or check individually how people are going, which is very challenging at a large scale. This is the kind of thing that Adam and I definitely put our 2 cents in and want to get reporting and things like that built into the system that does this type of thing. It's definitely an argument that we're ongoing in our sort of, in our advocacy for, but this is something that does exist and lots of people do use it and think it's really helpful. So yeah, something worth exploring.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can see that there.
Ruth,
and it's making it easier for trainers as well to track. Some of our trainers are a little bit tech challenged.
Okay, Ruth, I see there's a question for you and Adam in the chat. It's from Philippa. I think I know the answer. It says, does it need to be a linear pathway?
I think for that report, no. But and it's tricky because it's not Canvas built, so we didn't really put it together. But my understanding is no, it doesn't require a sequence. It just requires a requirement for each of the module items. But I'll take a bit of a closer look and see what I can come back to you with.
Amalia has also asked, would a mastery path help? I thought this was the type of thing that maybe a mastery path might be designed to help with.
Does anyone use mastery paths at the moment?
I've never heard of mastery path before.
Okay. Might just provide a very quick overview if that's going to be the masses. That mastery paths is essentially a tool in Canvas that allows you to create a differentiated learning pathway for users in the course. So typically, if I use a school example, just so it's easy to explain, if you have a stimulus exercise to sort of grasp everyone's understanding of a particular topic, and then based on their achievement in that task, so say it's out of 10, people who score between 0 and 3 could go down one learning path with different pages or content or assignments that they're required to do that are allocated to them. People who achieve between 4 and 6 might go down sort of a tier 2 pathway and have their own learning pathway that you've pre-allocated for anyone who scores in that range. And then you might have people who are sort of 7 to 10 in that task, who you might think, you've got a pretty good grasp of it. I'm going to maybe challenge you and give you, again, a different list of things to do that are at a different level to what you've done for the other people. So it's not necessarily a way to guarantee that people are doing particular things or a sequence of events. It's more so to provide a differentiated pathway for different learners based on how they're going. And you can use it for things like choice. So we do have people who use a quiz, and they sort of say, we're going to do an English task and you need to choose either novel 1 or novel 2 that you're going to then be doing this task for. So if you pick on this quiz, for example, one question, if you pick this, then you'll be given 1 mark, and that means you'll be pushed down novel 1's pathway. And if you pick this option, then you will get a 0 and you will be pushed down this other pathway. So it means that it's a way of managing student choice in the system, as opposed to, based on how well they've grasped the concept.
So I don't know if that helps you out, Megan. If everybody's got the same sequence, then maybe that doesn't help so much.
Well,
but if they've got different sequences,
within VET, it has to be the same unless you basically have an enormous task that explains why you've chosen to do the learning the way that you've done. That's the only difficulty I can see. I see great implications for it for, say, if you're doing a simulated type or a case study, and you're within, say, aged care or hospitality, but our core is mainly within forestry, horticulture, and the timber industry. So we're not quite probably at that stage yet. But I'm going to explore the progress report, the API thing, and start to see if we can't build something that will work within that for us.
Mastery paths can be really helpful when you're, you might have done a couple of things in the module and then you get an assessment task. And if someone gets satisfactory, then they wouldn't be given a mastery path. They would just carry on to the next module. But if you're not yet satisfactory, then they might then open up additional learning and tasks that they do before then being reassigned that same assessment again to then, you know, submit.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. But yes, I can see that. I'll copy and paste that.
A lot of people don't do that sort of thing. They kind of just go, oh, go back and look at this learning and then resubmit or try again. But it's actually a way of going, you know, we delivered this learning. We then did an assessment. They weren't yet satisfactory. So we actually gave them similar level of learning and material, but in a different way. Maybe
in a different way.
Of a reading or whatever it is, just to show that you've tried to, you know, capture a journey that's going to be most appropriate for that student.
Yeah.
Any other comments about this question from anyone else?
I reckon that's just inspired a blog post though, Adam. Maybe we could put something together on Mastery Paths for that.
We definitely can add it to the new content board. Why not?
Don't sound super excited about that one, Adam.
Oh no, I've just finished writing like 3 articles, so I'm like, oh, that'd be great. Just put it on. No, that's fine. That should be something that might that's going to be require a bit of brainstorming, that one.
If it's any consolation, Adam, Miles was onto that within about a millisecond, saying yes, please. So make Miles happy. If you could do that, that'd be fantastic.
Coming Christmas 2021.
And thanks for the smiley face, Miles. Okay, let's move on to our last agenda item for today. And this is a beauty. I think we'll have a bunch of questions here. And it's onboarding Canvas tips. Actually, can I add a late agenda item for today? I'd love Adam and Ruth just to tell us about CanvasCon. Okay. You up for that? So
we're going to bring it up anyway. So how about we answer this question first, and then we'll come in with a sledgehammer at the end.
Yeah, let's do that, because I want a shameless plug for CanvasCon before we finish today, because it is so good.
Believe it or not, we've also got some. Ruth's got some very exciting news that we're going to share with you all later.
She's got a hand up.
Yeah, it's very.
Way to elevate it, Adam.
Hey, I'm here to sell. All right. No, we have got something that we think is going to rock your worlds, but we'll do that after.
Okay. Look, curiosity is a great training technique. Let's move on with the standard agenda item, but we will be coming back to good stuff later, including Ruth's super duper not to be undersold announcement. All right, let's put the pressure on and let's move on. Let's talk about onboarding Canvas tips, words of wisdom from people who've walked the path before or starting a new journey. So when we're bringing people into Canvas, sometimes they might not even want to be there, and sometimes we've got to try and make things as easy as possible for them. Now, there's 2 parts to this. I don't know who proposed the question. It could be in terms of bringing staff on board or in terms of bringing students on board. Who proposed this question? Has we got somebody to stick their hands up for that one?
You did.
Sorry, you did, Megan? Did you say?
You did, Damian. You actually.
Me? Oh,
yeah, you did.
Oh, I did too. That was. I did too. It was during the last meeting, wasn't it? Yeah. So, okay. What a great question. So
I'll edit that bit out, Damian. I'll edit that out. Don't worry about it, mate. It's fine.
No, it has to stay. All right. So I think this is a big area. I think it's a big area we can all improve on as well. So let's share. How do you do it? Let's maybe focus on staff first, please. Assessors, trainers, because that's where sometimes I know some of you have probably received some pushback. So is there anything you guys have done specially just to help your staff and contractors to get into Canvas and use it and help your students?
Well, I guess for us, we've used the Growing with Canvas. We've had a few new staff jump on and have actually found that really, really useful, especially for newbies that have never actually used Canvas before and stuff like that. It has quite a good kind of, I've taken out the couple of pages and stuff that aren't relevant, but the rest of it, I found it really helpful. And for new staff coming on board, there's been some really good information in there for them, and then they just skip the pieces that they don't need. So...
Okay, awesome. And Grace, who's always on the ball, it would seem, is also using Growing with Canvas, and that's worked well for you, Grace? Okay, cool. Adam highly recommend customizing the course. Adam, do you want to explain what you mean there?
Yeah, so something that we state a lot is growing with Canvas and be the hero is written very generically. It's designed to include all the features that Canvas has to offer. What you can do, and what we see a lot of people do, is actually create a copy of Growing with Canvas, take our branding out, put your branding in, take the irrelevant things out, put the relevant stuff in, and kind of also almost make it like a manual or a fallback spot, because it's a really good resource, but then anyone can go back in at any time to say, oh, how do I do this again? Or what might that do? It's also really cool when you have to update it, because you only have to update it in one place, which is a really important thing to consider. You can really help keep your stuff up to date. So we obviously recommend when you first start using Growing in Canvas to just understand it, but taking that and customizing it to roles is a really, really, really important way to use that particular mentality. Ruth was laughing at me before, maybe because I say this a lot, but I'm not quite sure.
Just because I said the same thing. I said, does anyone customize what they do in there? And
Yeah.
all I would add to that is you can definitely do the course copy. Another option is to grab it from Commons when you first do it, and then make whatever customizations you like, so that if you do, if we make any updates to the course, you then still have the choice to bring those updates down into your version of it. So that's a helpful way to go as well.
Yeah, that's what we've done with ours, and when I did it, customize it, because there's some stuff in there that's not relevant to what we do. So, I didn't want to confuse staff by leaving it in there, so we've just pulled it out completely and added in some other additional pieces. But I actually found it I really liked the idea of Growing with Canvas, and we've now, for my team, started using it as an example of how we're building. I guess in old school it was desk files, so we've actually now started setting up courses. So we've got the enrollments team kind of course where when new staff come in, it has the how-tos and they can check back and find templates and things as well. So it kind of gave a really neat initial idea of how it could work and how we could actually use it internally to help our staff, as opposed to just looking at it as a tool for teaching students.
Yeah, we have an individual staff training course within Canvas, and we've actually, because we're quite recent with using Canvas, we've actually just taken video recordings of our training sessions that we've done, and we just upload them as kind of a video diary. So we've used that for certain processes within Canvas, but also we use plugins, so H5P and Genially and Canva. So as we've gone through and started to design more of those, or used those programs as well, we've actually made short videos of different types of templates within those programs, and then uploaded them into that point as well, so that we can kind of create basically a video library of what our Canvas is made of.
Okay, thanks, Megan. I noticed that, Adam, you've suggested that using Commons auto updates is perfect and a good way to go. Do you just want to explain what that means for everyone's benefit?
Well, I'm stealing a bit of Ruth's thunder here, but what you can do is that if you do go to Canvas Commons and you do pull down our version of Growing with Canvas, this is a Canvas authentic one, what actually happens is that when we go to update that course, it will actually push a release to Commons and then down to the person who downloaded the course from Commons. This is standards practice across everyone. Ruth just put in the link to the guide there. So it essentially means that when we go to update Growing with Canvas, if you accept that, what will actually happen is it'll actually update the pages that you haven't changed, and it will add the other pages to the course, so you can then blend them in. It's a really cool, powerful tool, especially if you want to look at different versions. And if you don't want to bring the new version in, it's fine. You don't have to. It's just another great way to ensure that the course that you've got is going to be updated from our end. So as soon as we've got a new version of Growing with Canvas to come out, your Growing with Canvas should be updated. So that's the reason why we suggest pulling it down from Canvas Commons.
That's very cool. And Ruth has popped in a link as to how to do that as well. Does it not override any changes you've already made? I believe that it does not, is what Adam's saying, correct?
That's correct. No, so what it will do is if you don't change anything, and Ruth will probably surely correct me here if I get this wrong, is that if there are any changes made inside an actual page, the content won't auto be updated. But if there are no changes to the original page, as in you haven't touched it from the original one, then it will be updated. Ruth, did I get that right?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah. So it's pretty similar to how Blueprints works.
Yep.
Yeah, and probably a better way to go than a blueprint in this case, would you suggest?
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. That's really, really good. So we've got two good ideas. We've got the growing with Canvas, and we also had the create your own training course idea that Megan's talked about. Any other ideas quickly on how to get our staff and assessors and trainers up to speed? Ruth's asked, does anyone do face-to-face sessions and hands-on support? We kind of do, Ruth. That's the way we roll. Yep, we bring them up real quick. We say, sit down with this person, about 2 hours, they're going to show you everything you need to know, and then you're off and racing. Okay? And then they get busy reading assessor guides for what seems like the rest of their life as to how to assess things. Grace is a yes on that as well. Okay, let's move on to students, because I suspect this is where the really good stuff's going to come up. So how can we help our students get on board? And growing with Canvas might be a solution there as well, especially customized, as might hands-on, face-to-face sessions or, over Zoom or whatever. Adam's written passport to Canvas. Tell us about that, Adam.
I've got Ruth twice today. So, growing with Canvas is one that we developed for teacher training. Admin, yeah, just very close, milliseconds in that one. We've also got another one called Be the Hero, which is more towards the admin. So your high level admins, that's of course for you. There is also another one in there called Passport to Canvas, which is designed for students. It's just basically a basic navigation to students. So it's basically very broad. Once again, works on the same premise as growing with Canvas, but tailored for the students. Passport to Canvas, they basically used the map of the world and our different offices to help people kind of like navigate around different areas of Canvas as well. Once again, something for you to customize. However, I would also strongly suggest you go to Canvas Commons and type in anything to do with student onboarding or Canvas onboarding. There are so many resources in Canvas Commons that people have done this before. It's a really good chance for you to look not only at the three that we've listed in the chat. Those are the three that we look after. There's also some great resources out there that other people in Canvas has written as well. So great way to kind of look and feel. I'm a mass fan of this. I think you can really train and educate a lot of people on the basics of little things of like how to submit an assignment, like how to do those little things that will ultimately drain more and more time from you moving forward. If they've got a place they can go back to comfortably and review it along with the student guides, I think you're well on your way to creating a really good onboarding process for the student.
Good stuff. Philippa's asked a question. She'd appreciate suggestions on how to search in Canvas Commons for the Australian vet sector content. Oh, I don't have an easy answer for that one. Does anyone have an answer as to how you can easily find the Australian vet sector stuff?
I don't believe there's like a tag or a specific search for vet content, particularly not APAC in general. Commons is obviously pretty flexible in terms of it can be specific just to your institution's library, or it can be global, so you can share your content publicly and people can share publicly. We definitely notice that our sector, or the vet sector, is more secret or private compared to other sectors, and they don't tend to want to share their content into Commons publicly, like we do see with universities, and K-12s are our biggest collaborators, then higher ed, and vet definitely lingers at the bottom, unfortunately. So we'd love for that to be different. We'd love for people to share more, but I don't believe there is sort of a section specifically for vet content. Maybe worth searching competency based or that sort of stuff, because in the States they do have some delivery in that area, but not, as you said, not here in Australia.
Or even a course code. Has anyone ever tried to search for a unit code and see if something's there that might be relevant to them? Not sure you'll find anything, but be an interesting experience. So Adam has awarded ninja status to Grace, I believe, as opposed to himself, because Grace went and created her own course. And that works well for you, Grace?
Yeah, so we've got, I guess it's like a resource guide, which is a course that the students can go back to at any stage throughout their course. And it's got all resources on how to use Canvas, including just like the basics of Canvas, but then how to like submit assignments and all that sort of stuff. And then we spend a couple of hours on their first day going through this resource guide for them and actually showing them how to navigate Canvas and everything. And then, explain to them essentially that they can come back. And we use a lot of videos from Canvas. Like we pop them in, we don't just sit there and show them the videos, but if they needed to go back and remember how to do something, they can go back and then look at those videos as well. So works well.
Awesome. Thank you, Grace. Any other suggestions? What else do you do, folks?
I've got one, and I'd love to see it. Does anyone here customize their help menu? It's probably the simplest and most effective way to help that resource done. And because obviously what Ruth and I do is like, we give you all these things and you go and do it. But yeah, that, and also how do you do it once they're actually started training? Like how do they reach out for help and support? That'd be also a really good way, because that is actually part of the onboarding process. Because if you nail that early, usually a lot, you get that time back in spades at the end. So anyone who's got questions on that, that'd be great to hear.
Ruth and I spent a bit of time the last couple of weeks customizing the help menu, for which I thank you, Ruth. It's definitely something worth doing. So I want to run a bit of an exercise here, folks. I want you to use the chat, please. I want to make a list of all the things that might be worthwhile teaching your students if you're going to put together a process like Grace has here. Or what are the things you should teach your students? Pop them in the chat. Let's see if we can get a bit of a list going. So pop them in one by one, pop something in, hit enter, and let's see, because it might be interesting to see here if people talk about things that you hadn't thought about. That might be interesting. While you're thinking about that, Philip has written, I had an idea of creating onboarding videos that had two speeds, the tech savvy and the less confident. You could create a mastery path for that, Philippa. But I think that's a good idea. That could work. Here comes our list. Ruth loves that idea too. Miles written, how to access feedback. How to set preferred email contact method by Zoe. Good stuff. Everyone is loving Philippa at the moment. Because we're the same. We find that some students are just on it like that, and others you've got to show the absolute basics. I did have one student ring me up seriously and ask me how to turn the computer on. I knew we were in trouble at that stage. Ruth has written, I'm very new to Canvas, but really like the idea of customizing the help menu and easy access to student support. And if you I think it's as simple as clicking the help menu and you see the link to customize.
That's correct. As an admin, you'll see customize the help menu. You can then choose the items in your help menu and choose what sort of user sees it. So in other words, you can develop a help menu for admins, a help admin for teachers, and a help admin for students as well. So that's really important as well.
And I just love that you can change the language too, Adam. Customize it for our context.
Exactly. You don't have to be bogged down by the very generic Canvas verbiage. But yeah, that's a really great thing to consider. And yeah, that'll be fine.
On our list, recommended notification setup, how to check pass marks or results. Oh yes. How do they know what level they are? Global and course options. Some of our courses are delivered to government departments and they need specific info on the best web platforms. They can't even access the web sometimes. Yeah, that Internet Explorer thing might not be working so good anymore. I know where you're coming from there, Catherine. Tech support, how to access it. Zoe's written how to take a screenshot. Very good. What else we got here? The help menu guide is there now, Miles. Thank you, Ruth. How to navigate the course, get the marks and the feedback and customize notifications. So Megan's combined a few of the earlier ones. And Grace has written for Philip's benefit. We use Studio to embed videos on the page and students can choose the speed of the video while watching. I love Studio, just throwing that out there. And minimum requirements for Canvas. Oh, Adam, my gosh, I use that page so much because
save it.
Yeah, we do have students who do tend to use out-of-date browsers. And that's probably the most common advice I give from a tech perspective to our students is, have you checked your browser lately? And what I tend to use for that is a little website, which I think is so good. Now, if anyone tells me it's rubbish, I'll be very disappointed. But this website is whatismybrowser.com. If you type whatismybrowser.com into your browser and hit enter, it will tell you everything you need to know with what browser you're using and what version it is and help you go down the path to updating if necessary. So good. Unless somebody tells me it's not. Okay. Philip has asked, do people have experience of organisation schools departments that won't use Canvas? Similar to Zoom restrictions. Why would they do that? Crazy people. Has anyone actually encountered that?
What I'm getting at is, see, we work in a lot of schools, libraries. They can be part of Catholic education, could be part of a state department of education. And we're finding we have to have various ways of presenting information in terms of the technology because the firewalls restrict.
So Philippa, we've actually got, and Ruth will probably put this in the chat, she's thinking the same thing as me. We have actually got a list of, firstly, inside the school, there's things that you can actually do to whitelist Canvas and its associated products from working. Really important that if you're going into a school that they have that as whitelisted because otherwise those little things aren't going to appear.
And does the school have the authority to do that?
Yeah, well, we go into pretty much any school around Australia and around the world, so I assume it can be done. Yeah, that would be something I would first recommend for the IT team, especially because some people have it so Canvas work and then Studio doesn't, and then they whitelist Studio and then Studio starts working. So if there's internal requirements set, there is a document in the Canvas community on whitelisting. It is forward facing that you can pass on to the IT departments of various other places that are trying to access it. What's that? Citrix, I know doesn't play nice with Canvas, but once again, those are all internal systems. We have no control over that. Being a cloud-based system enables us to be more flexible than probably any other LMSs out there that aren't cloud-based. So if we can't get in there, there might be another thing. China is a completely separate kettle of fish and we're not going to talk about it on this particular thread. So please don't bring it up. We'll start talking about the Golden Shield. But that would be something I would consider. I've never heard of anyone not being able to access it just on a browser. That's using the correct browser, but there might be an internal firewall thing that they've set up.
I suppose they could watch on their phone.
Well, if they get a correct version of the app, yeah, that's all right. So that's really important as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Philippa. Awesome question, folks. I just want to thank you all for the list you made. Great list, awesome list. So
there's a lot of note taking for me to do for recording this one and putting the notes in. So that should be keep me busy tomorrow.
It's our goal to keep you busy, Adam. Folks, any other questions or comments about this topic before we wrap up and move on to the super duper stuff at the end? Okay, let's move on. Adam, you're in charge. Tell us about CanvasCon and lead us to Ruth's super duper announcement and all of that stuff.
Firstly, I'll just double check. Ruth, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Oh, your screen. I'm just double checking. I'm just making sure you're ready. So the first thing is CanvasCon is happening on October the 15th. those of you who've been before, yeah, it's really sad. Usually it's a big day. We get everyone from around Australia and Asia and everyone to come in to Sydney, and we have a right royal big party, which is great fun. But unfortunately this year, cheers COVID, we will not be doing that. So this year there is going to be something slightly different. We're doing it all virtual. So that will mean that there are going to be some sessions, like our big breakout sessions, that are going to be done on a global level. Ruth just put the link to register there. It is free. We are also thinking about doing a user group at CanvasCon as well. So these will be a mixture of new people, more people who have registered that aren't aware of what we do, as well as like new customers coming in as well. So it's going to be a really good way for them to kind of understand not only how Canvas works, but how Canvas works in their particular market with people that are in various different levels of their rollout, which is really, really, really cool. So there will be an email being sent this afternoon about CanvasCon, about you registering online. It is free. I do believe, I think there were some prizes getting handed out, Ruth, if I remember correctly. I can't, there might be a swag gift floating around from some time. I can't really tell yet. But yeah, please feel free to register. As I said, this will entitle you to go around all the sessions. There will be certain streams available for you to choose where you'd like to go. So it's a bit of a choose your own adventure day. It's like going to the zoo with your kids, basically. It could be completely tumultuous, or it could be a great success. We don't really know yet. So that would be the first thing. But the next thing that Ruth is going to share her screen for, we think, is something that might rock your world in the last 5 minutes of this session. And Ruth, the floor is yours. Oh,
I'm also just popping in there the times for the live APAC sessions. So that's when that part of the day. So if you are looking at some of the keynotes in the morning, or you're looking at some of the breakout sessions in the afternoon, those are recorded. So they will be available after the actual date for about a month. But the actual live component is that bit right in the middle of the day. So if you can't, spend your whole day at CanvasCon or InstructureCon, we definitely recommend that you do jump in at least for the live component. So you can take a look at what's going on there and interact with some of the other team, and chat some more vet stuff. But as Adam said, something I wanted just to showcase, and look, it's been completely inflated now over the last 15 minutes, but it is a new feature that's coming that you may have already seen in the October release notes, just released a couple of days ago. And some of you might already have this on in your beta environment or had a bit of a look, but as soon as I saw it, I jumped for joy with my vet hat on, thinking this is going to really improve our evidence towards competency and that progress of that journey, and how we demonstrate that and how students can understand that. So I just wanted to share my screen and show you from a student perspective. Now, no judgment. This is my dog's instance of Canvas. And we can see in here, I just want to show you from student view perspective, a very basic workflow of this. So I've just got 2 assignments in this course that I just wanted to work to show you and what the new sort of workflow is. So this is from the student perspective. If we jump into this assignment, here you can see the new assignment display page. So this is called the student enhancements. It's part of our assignments upgrade. And we can see a couple of different things in here. We can see obviously the title of the assignment, when it's due. We can see our grade. If we had this marked already, we could see what our current grade is. We don't have a grade. We haven't uploaded or done anything for this one yet. But we can also see this little timeline, or the product team called a pizza tracker, which I think is funny, but a little bit of a timeline of how this has progressed from when it was available. And we can see very clearly as the student that I'm up to this step here, which is the upload stage. Once I had uploaded and submitted it, there would then be the next one, which is not yet marked, and it moves through that as the student progresses. So all on this one page, they can see where they're up to in the task. They can come down here and see where to actually upload. So I think this is a much more obvious user interface for students to upload their files. And they can also see their comments and their rubrics from any previous submissions. So that's what an assignment looks like when they come to submit to it for the first time. And I'm just going to show you one that I've done a couple of dummy submissions for, so you can see what that looks like. So this is a learner who we can see has a not yet satisfactory mark because they haven't got their required 10 out of 10 for this task. And we can actually see here that this is reflecting attempt 2, We can press this arrow and come back to attempt 1, where we can see that it was available, it was uploaded, submitted and marked, and that I have actually come through and done a second attempt, upload, submitted and marked, and the opportunity here to do a new attempt if I wanted, and if the assignment settings are set to multiple or unlimited attempts. We can see at the bottom here, from the student's perspective, they can see their attempt, and I might just zoom out just so you can see this a bit easier, but they can see attempt 1. They can see straight here what their annotations are on this. So this is obviously just a guide I've uploaded, some comments that my marker has put on my paper, and then the actual comment that they've put on the assignment as well. See my comments, resubmit, no worries. If I then move across to my second submission, I can have a look at what I uploaded for my second submission. And I would also be able to see the comments and the rubric for that submission. So I think this is a really powerful upgrade, much easier for the student to understand and see all of this in the one place. But I think it's also going to have a big impact in the vet space to be able to demonstrate and provide evidence of competency in that the journey towards that. One or a couple of things that are changing. This tool is, as I said in the October release notes, you will be able to nominate for this to be on in production. It's not going to be enforced in production for everyone in October. It's a elective thing at this point. And there are a couple of opportunities in the community, and we'll post those links in the chat, for people to actually provide feedback on a couple of these things that the product manager is requesting, 2 of which are the submission history and also the attempt history. So at the moment, you can see the moving between attempts 1 and 2 is done via these arrows on the pizza tracker. What they're wanting to do is actually change it to be a drop down, so they can drop down and move between attempt 1 and attempt 2 instead of it being a back and forth. So that's one of the improvements they're already suggesting. And so in those articles in the community, that product manager is asking and actively wanting feedback from customers from all sectors so that we can understand how this is going to impact and how we can continue to improve it for all of our customers. So this is what it will look like and what will be available for you come the October release. But there is that opportunity for feedback as we continue to build this.
And just before you close your screen, Ruth, something super quick, and this will be mentioned in the newsletter getting sent out in about an hour's time, is you may notice on the left-hand side that Ruth has a new button, and it's not the DG one, it's not the settings, no, they're alphabetic, it is history. So the history button is now a feature option that will be turned on, that you can now turn on. This will enable you to go back and view where you've recently navigated in Canvas. So it's a really, really cool tool for students to go back like, oh, where was that course I was in? Oh, what was, like, that is what it's designed to do. So that will actually become live from October.
Yeah, you can't turn it on just yet. You can look at it in beta, but it will be there for everyone come the October release. And as Adam said, super helpful if you're the kind of organisation that has your clusters or your units in separate courses. Particularly, yeah, if you have students who are enrolled in multiple courses, it can be really handy for them just to have a quick list to be able to jump back to where they were. If they were working on an assignment, to be able to get back into that the next day. But equally useful if you do have everyone just in the one course, instead of needing to navigate to the course, find the module, find the task or where they're up to, they can sort of pick up from where they left off.
Is everyone happy? Grace looks really confused.
Well, sorry, I was deep in thought. I did have a question about that new assignments like user interface. And it's a question that I actually posed to the Canvas forums a little while ago as I was testing that feature in the beta environment. And it's about excused assignments. So when I was doing testing, you couldn't actually see, so for a student's perspective, you couldn't actually see that an assignment had been excused, like in the current user interface. All it showed was that it had been submitted. So it's a little bit confusing in that sense. I'm not sure if that's been improved, or I'm not sure if Adam or Damian, you know what I'm talking about, or Ruth, sorry. But yeah, that was sort of my question. I might even pop in.
Might be worthwhile sending that through to us personally, and we'll. Oh, thanks, Grace. I'll put that in there. Okay, we'll have a look at that and add that to might put that to Jack. I might put that to Jackie, Ruth.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because I did put it, I posed it to, what's it called? Like our support, and then they said that they would put it higher, but then also told me to put it in the forums to see if anyone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we would recommend. Usually with the testing of those beta, remember it is a beta product. So that's the reason why it's good to have those sorts of feedback. And it's really good to put that feedback out in front of everything as well, because there's nothing worse than having 60 people asking the same thing when one person can put a comment on a community and people can comment underneath that thread and provide hopefully constructive criticism about what we're trying to achieve. So yeah, that's really good. As I said, there'll be a little bit more about this mentioned as we go, but yeah, this has been in beta for a while. Super excited. There's some other features as part of this as well that when they get released as well will also become a great benefit, and I think it'll definitely benefit especially things like video submissions and things like that as well from a certain environment. But we're on the hour. We'll run a little bit over. So Damian, would you like to close out today, please, sir?
Yeah, Philippa, thank you for coming. Thank you everyone for coming. Sorry we didn't get to say hello as much as we often. It's good to see new faces here. Please come back. We love having you here, and don't forget to go check out everything that's going to be on the post, and we can link to the recording and everything from today. And thanks, Adam and Ruth, for looking after us. Good on you guys. I think that's it. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you, team.
See ya.